on up around 200,000 or 300,000. Those type of businesses don't need a really complicated business plan. That's just all there is to it. And I tailor these presentations more for those companies that are planning to start over a period of years, maybe getting up to $500,000 or $600,000 in sales, and what we're talking about will be just fine for that. If you're going to do a manufacturing company or a huge manufacturing company or a huge construction company or after larger dollars and goals into the many millions, then your business plan would probably need to be more sophisticated than what I'll focus on tonight, but I'm still going to give you the 7 basic parts so that you'll know where we're coming from. There's 10 steps that you're going to need to think about with your business plan. What is it? Why have it? Let's do a planner. How are we going to use income and expense models to put our business plan together? And then we're going to connect them so it all makes sense. And then we're going to talk about actually writing down, putting something on paper or on your computer screen, a structured plan. You're going to need to think about your actual business ownership, whether it's incorporated, who's going to have stock in it, how much it's going to cost you to get into business, to get started. And do you have the confidence now? Is one of the reasons you're not moving forward because you don't have the self-confidence or the self-assurance to move forward. And then I want to encourage you to believe and trust in yourself. So that's how we're going to approach this tonight. And you know what? For a lot of people during the last 15 years, it's worked just fine, and I hope it really helps you too as well. Why do we want a business plan? Why do you need it? To give you the information before you invest your time and talents that you need to make it a safer investment. If you're going to look for investors to help you get your business started, they're going to want to see a business plan and understand it. So you're going to need to not only write it, but own it so you can explain it. And as you get started, it's a way you'll be able to document your progress as you chart the course to get to where you want to go. But the biggest thing that overrides that all is we want that business plan to help us avoid unexpected pitfalls and expenses. You'll see that as I'm asking you to put it together, a lot of this is asking you to think outside of the box. Yeah, to get a crystal ball out here and let's try to guess what's going to be coming at us. Yeah, maybe you hadn't been there before, but when you surround yourself with old folks like me that's been there and done that, or the people at the Small Business Center, or the networking that we do in the academy here, we'll get a lot of information coming your way that you really didn't think about before, and maybe it was the 1 or 2 things that made a big difference in whether you were successful or not. But the big question that we're going to talk about over and over tonight is what's left. Papa Steve-O here is going to tell you that when it's all said and done, it's that bottom line that counts, right? Tell me about the money. Tell me about the money. What's left at the end of the business plan? Is it black ink, which is profitable, or is it red ink, which means we spent more than we took in, and that's not a good thing if you don't have a business. Sometimes it happens. So how can we approach this? We're going to do it 2 ways. Number one, we're going to think about creating a timeline with some goals. Yeah, we're going to look at a calendar. And you're going to say, I want to achieve this goal, this goal, this goal, this goal by this date, this date, this date, and that's this date. In other words, let's create a to-do list over several months and list down the things that we need to do to get our business up and running. Now, when I say get our business up and running, you're going to need to understand that maybe you need to add profit centers to your business. Maybe you're already in business, but you want to grow it. So these same planners would apply to what you're going to do for the particular new thing that you're adding to your business. Now, one fellow on board tonight, Jimmy, wants to add some new things to his business. So Jimmy is already in business, but he would set up a planner for these new things that he wants to do and establish some guidelines. Otherwise, you know what you do? You just sit around and talk about it. You don't ever make it happen except chit-chat. Well, you know, old Steve-O here, I talked to you last week. I don't motivate you. I want you to get off your duff and let's make some money. So the way to get that started is to get your hand out here tonight and make a planner. And then the next thing we're going to do to put our business plan together is we're going to build blocks, little building blocks like Lego blocks. We're going to have some blocks where we have our income estimates, and we're going to have some other blocks that we're going to call our expense estimates, and we're going to write them down. They'll be easy to figure out themselves, but when we plug them all together, we'll have a good start on a business plan that we can live and grow with. All right, step number 1 down. That's the pre-planner. This can be written down on one page. On one page, you can do it, a pre-planner on one page. So let's say that this was October. I should have updated this calendar, but let's pretend it's back in October. And we said, I want to have my grand opening on March the 15th. Well, during the first month, here's some things that you're going to need to do. Determine the products and services you're going to sell. Think about what you know and that you don't know and what you need to learn. Yeah, let's not wait till you have a grand opening and start trying to learn things you needed to know before you had that opening. And let's create a menu of what you're going to do and put some prices and details beside each one of your profit centers. Now, when I say menu, that means an itemized list of your marketable profit centers. The different things that you can market separately to different customers. So that'll keep you busy the first month. Second month, let's start working on our database. We want as many email addresses as we can get so we can start sending out those continuous promotions we talked about. If your business is going to be outside of the home, then let's go find us a place that you're going to rent or set up your business. If you're going mobile, like with a food truck, start finding the places that you're going to set up your business. You got to plan for that. Make the arrangements. And let's determine our startup cost. How much money are we going to need? And how much you think you're going to need, you can probably triple it. There's always more stuff that comes showing up at the last moment that makes you spend more money. So the sooner you get started on making that list, the more realistic it'll be, and therefore help you avoid unexpected expenses that we talked about. The next month, let's get us a bank account and think about if we need some funding sources. Let's get that lined up. Select the bank, our location. If we're going to be renting a place, we need to look into insurance or maybe the type of insurance we might need for our business. Talk to the agent. Do your applications, kind of get things started. And it's time to do our marketing now. 90 days before you're actually going to open, you want a marketing plan in place because you're going to be doing some pre-advertising and pre-marketing before you actually open up. Now, when I say open up again, this may be introduce this new thing you're adding to the business that you're already in. That's exactly right. Now, let's negotiate and forecast, use those skills to start buying products and making arrangements so that we're going to get them at the lowest price possible so we can sell them above fair market value at the highest price possible. If you don't know about negotiating and forecasting, ask me to send you some information on it because everybody that's in business needs to negotiate and forecast so that you can get the best deal for yourself and then offer the best deal possible to your customers. I want you to understand about fair market value as well. Now, 60 days before you open in the next month, let's start spending some money. Let's start letting folks know that we're here and alive. Let's get our website up and running, start doing our SEO work, prepare our locations. If it's another business or we're operating in our home business, get your furniture and your fixtures lined up and in place. Get your computer systems ready to go. If you're going to be giving webinars, like I never dreamed that I would be 2 years ago, but right now, when you're giving webinars, you need to have a camera, you need to have special microphones, you might even need to have earphones, special lighting, backdrops, lots of things that you can do to make yourself more presentable on the internet, plus give yourself a lot of practice time for everything new that you're learning to do so that you can make the best presentation possible. Now, here's a good example. Remember last week I said you got to know that things are going to go wrong sometime. I've been using these PowerPoints now for for 11 years, and for the first time tonight online with you guys, I got a PowerPoint that froze up, and I'm having to operate in a weird way here, but we're going to keep on operating. So there's always something that can come up, and we just have to roll on. Be prepared to do that. All right, 30 days away from opening time, it's time to get some merchandise in. It's time to have some displays up and learn how to do those pricing skills, to have our price tags on everything, but in such a way that we're not saying take it or leave it. No, our price tags need to have a good price up there, give us some negotiating room, and make sure we can give a little discount and still make the profit that we need. Also, if you're going to need help in your business, it's time to train them. You don't want to start your training on the day you open up. No, you don't want your very first customers that are coming in to do business with you not to be served in a first-class way, because that would be awful. Your first customers that are coming in, the first thing they do is walk out the door and says, I'm never coming back here again. They weren't ready for me. So be ready to do business when you do your grand opening. It's better to have a soft opening a few weeks before you have a grand opening if you don't bring a lot of customers in. It's better to be online for a month or two before you actually go big guns with your website. Y'all listen to me carefully, because there's several on board tonight that is a factor that I want you to be thinking about. Change your website a lot, make some changes. Then let's think about working with it a few days and maybe let me look over it with you and make some suggestions so you have the right landing pages such as that. Because when you really go out with your big promotions and maybe do some pay per click to bring in a flood of people, you want everything working really well. So now it's time to do that grand opening, right? So let's go for it. And our main thing, the number one goal, is that every customer that comes into your store, every customer that comes onto your website and does some business with you. You listening, Leah? It's good to have you back tonight. Are you listening really good, Jack and Gary? Your main goal with each and every customer, and it's got to be in the back of your mind DNA-wise, is, yes, I'm going to make this customer a raving fan customer. Every customer, we're going to take them one at a time, and we're not going to worry about taking in everybody at a time, but every customer one at a time has got to be made to feel really important, and we're going to follow up with them so that they will become our raving fan customers. That's our pre-planner, starting from zero here to wide open here 6 months later. Now, your plan may be 2 years down the road, maybe 1 year down the road. It's whatever that you're planning to do. Maybe you're going to keep a full-time job while you're starting your business, and you want to stretch it out over a year or two. That's great. But go ahead and do your planner now and write these things down that have to be done. And maybe your business, they have some particulars that need even more things to do. Now, we got one gentleman that's on board with us tonight that goes out and buys used equipment and brings it back to his place or another shop, and then he salvages parts off that or takes parts off that equipment and sells it to other people. Now, that takes a lot of planning, and it takes a lot of doing. It takes a lot of transportation. So for him to have an inventory to sell, he's got to spend some big bucks to bring it in, to put it out in his lot, to protect it from the weather, to do all those kind of things. Maybe you're starting a cleaning business, and all that you have to do is find a vacuum cleaner, some cleaning supplies, and then go find some customers. So each one of us will be different. And each new profit center that you add to your business may require a pre-planner on its own. If you got any questions about that and I can help you with it, I really appreciate you letting me know. Now, we're moving now away from the pre-planner, and we're going to our models now. What am I saying now? Remember, every model represents one of your profit centers, the income side of it and the expense side. So each profit center will create two models, okay? We're going to work them here together so it take up less time. But whatever it is, we're going to figure out how much we're going to sell this thing for. what our unit cost is, and therefore we're going, when we take it away, we're going to know what the revenue, when we multiply the number that we estimate and sell it, we're going to know what our revenue estimate is for that. So let's say that you're going to buy 10 items at $1 a piece. All right? And you're going to buy 10 items that you sold for $1 a piece. Therefore, the revenue estimate will be $10. That'll be on your first line. You listed down what the product was. Then on the bottom of the page, you're going to say that item cost me 50 cents. And I'm going to sell 10 items, so I'm going to spend $5. So your revenue estimate there would be $10. Your expense estimate would be $5. Right there, you have your first two models. Your first two models are covered right there. So, what's it selling for? We just figured out the revenue estimate and the expense estimate. Now, everything related to a business plan is figuring out what's left. Remember, we said this one was going to be $5. What do you call that number? What do you call that $5 number? You call it revenue or profit or margin or deposits or earnings? What do you call it? Well, you can call it whatever you want to. It's a free world, right? But for our purposes, I want us to call that margin. Not profit, but margin. We'll figure our profit after we figure all the cost of our business. Right now, we're just working on it, one individual model. So we're going to call that what's left number there margin. Now, let's use an example. Let's say that you're getting into the used or pre-owned car business, and that is a good business to get into. You see them everywhere. Matter of fact, there's more used car companies than there are new car companies, right? Because you can get into this business for a fairly low amount of money and go up to Kenly, North Carolina, or down to Dillon, South Carolina, or Wilmington or Raleigh. There's even a little auction here in Dunn where you can buy used cars at wholesale prices, carry them back to your place, set them up on the lot with your flags and your signs, and sell them. And you know what? If you don't sell it, you can carry it back to the auction and try to get your money out of it and invest in something else to come back and make some profit on it. Pretty straight up business. You know, people have been doing this since we had mules and horses and tractors. That's the way, when you're selling iron for money, that's the way it works. You go somewhere and buy it. You buy it below fair market value if you can. Make sure you're getting a good deal. And you bring it back and you sell it. And if you can't sell it, then you carry it back and get your money out of it, buy something else, and bring it back and try to make $1. That is the new and the used car business. So let's talk about it. Let's say you were going to do that right at your lot, or maybe out in front of your barber shop, or whatever other business that you're in. Or maybe Rayford and Rayvon are going to set up a business out there selling trucks and trailers because they're experts in that. So let's say that we're going to get into the used car business. And we're going to buy cars that we can sell for $6,000. You know, that's a good sized car to sell. People, that's something a little bit better than walking, right? Any car beats walking, and a lot of people can't afford a $15,000, $20,000 car. That's why there's more $6,000 cars sold than any other class in the whole world. And you know what? You live in a pretty little active area there with a lot of traffic. You got a good location. You are firmly convinced that you can sell at least 15 cars a month. That's not but 4 cars a week, right? So yeah, I can sell 15 cars a month. And if you do that in 6 months, you're going to sell 90 cars. 90. Things add up in a hurry in business. It's amazing. And therefore, you will bring in over $500,000 in the first 6 months that you're in business. Yeah, you never dreamed you'd bring in that type of revenue, did you? But it adds up in a hurry. Now, these cars that you're going to sell for $6,000, you're going to be determined that you're not going to pay but $4,000 for them. And that's a realistic number. You can go buy a car at the sale for $4,000 and bring it back to your place and sell it for $6,000, provided you bought the right car and everything was right about it. And if you bought 90 of them, you would spend $360,000 to buy those 90 cars over a 6-month period. You with me so far? What we're doing here is creating business models. So we're going to take the $540,000 that we're bringing in and subtract the $360 that it's going to cost us. Aha! What's left? That's that business plan, 2 words. What's left? $180,000. So what are we going to call that $180,000? Margin. Same as before. I'll let you know when we're going to call it profit. Right now we're calling it margin. That's $180,000 of money, more money that you took in than you spent on those particular cars, and that's pretty amazing, isn't it? We get some background noise here from someone. There it is. Yeah, I believe it's Daniel. Daniel, welcome aboard there. I just muted your microphone, okay? So next we're going to look at that's the used cars. Let's say that you're not selling products. You're not selling cars or tractors or tangible things like that. Let's say that your business is selling time for money. That's like Jimmy does. Jimmy's a barber. Jimmy sells time for money. Rayford is in the towing business. He's selling time for money and gasoline. Yeah, but it's time for money when you're thinking about that. Sheila's with us tonight. Sheila, I wish you were with us earlier. I did a little special presentation for you with your real estate business and event planner. We're glad to have you back on board. Enjoyed the chance to work with you. But and Sheila sells time for money. So when you're doing a business plan for time for money, it's a different ball of wax. So here's the way that I've approached it through the years. Because sometimes in your business you'll have part of it where you're selling products and making a profit on it, but also there's an entity in your business where you're selling time for labor. So you might have to use both of these business plan models to serve your needs. But I like to encourage folks, and I have for a number of years now, to do your business plan based on 4 days a week, 4 weeks a month. 4 days a week, 4 weeks a month. So if we look at a 6-month plan here, we're going to be talking about 96 working days. Okay? Why do I say four days a week? Because I want you to have a life, and I want you to grow your business. So you got 4 days that you're going to try to fill your calendar up. That leaves you a 5th day in case it rains or snows or you get in a wreck or something like that. And this week's a good example that you have to cancel appointments. I had a doctor's appointment set up for in the morning. They called me. We had to reschedule it for next week. That's life. That's business, right? So you want to give yourself a little bit of flexible time in your business plan. Day 6 is the day to get out and grow your business. Call on customers. Grow your business. Start another business if you want to. Add another profit center. Day 7, spend with your family. Go to church. Pray to Jesus to look after you and bring you another good week. So 4 weeks, 4 days, 6 months is 96 working days. Now, depending on the nature of your business, like a real estate agent might be able to show 3 houses a day. A barber might be able to have 20 appointments a day or 30 appointments a day. A stylist at the salon would probably have less because it takes them more time, maybe 15 appointments a day. Someone that's doing pressure washing, if they're doing a whole string of mobile homes down at the beach, they might be able to do 5 a day. But if they're doing big houses, they might not be able to do but 1. So base your business plan on how many appointment slots that you can realistically do, and then determine how much each value of the appointment would be, how much income you need to bring in for that, and then at the end of the day, how much revenue you have generated for your service. That's exactly right. Just like the dentist does it, just like the lawyer does it. So let's say now what service that you're going to be in. But so we're going to take and figure our income, just like I said, each day we're going to bring X amount of money. We're going to multiply it times 96 days for 6 months. So during that 6-month period, our business plan is saying we're estimating our revenues to be a certain amount of money. On the expense side, that would be our income model. On the expense side, how much is it costing us per day to operate times 96? That's our expense model. Same as we did before, just using different words. Then we're going to take our revenue estimates, subtract our expenses, and then what's left. And what do we going to call this number? Margin. You with me so far? I know I'm rocking right along, so I hope you're with me on your spread now. Let's try to pull this together now on this selling time for money. Let's say that we're Sarita. She is a graphic designer doing marketing skills. We may have some other people that does that same type of work. And I don't say that Sarita is established now. She's got her appointment values. She's going to build her business plan on trying to create clients that she's going to serve 4 clients a day and charge each one of them $150 and generate $600 per day for her work. That's her plan. If she can do that, she feels like she can make ends meet. And so that's the number she does. You'll put in what numbers suit your needs and your goals. I'm just using examples here. So if Sarita has $600 a day, and for 6 months, 96 days, she'll bring in $57,600. Pretty good piece of change there, Sarita. Now, her expenses, she figured her expenses at $200 a day times 6 months is she'll spend $19,200. So her business models are starting to come together now. And if she brings in $57,000 and spends $19,200, that's going to leave her $38,400. What do we call this number? Profit? Nope. Deposits, earnings? Nope. We're still going to call it margin. 38.4 is still the margin on that particular profit center that Sarita had, which was doing design work. She may be doing some other things like printing or doing secretarial services or marketing for other people or website stuff. But this was her design work, and she gave herself this business model to get that done. So what we're doing now, this is weird changing these slides like this. Each one of the models represent one of these little blocks. Color doesn't make any difference here, but some of these blocks are your expense estimates, and some of these blocks are your income estimates. And we're going to plug them together in such a way that we can end up seeing what our overall estimate is for bringing in money and what our overall estimates are for spending money to make that happen. So I also want to mention to you that that's how a general plan would look. But everybody's plan is a little bit different. Valerie, for example, with her transportation business, and Rayford, for example, with his towing business, there's other factors they have to pull in that don't fit a normal mold. So let's take a few minutes and look at an example, because your business, most likely, like my business, I have some wrinkles in it that you need to make the adjustments for. So because I know we've got several people that's in a similar situation, let's talk about this. When you're selling time for money, plus you have a vehicle expense, and you know, this applies also with Sheila, because she's got her vehicle expenses, depending on how large an area that she's traveling with her real estate. You have to factor in your driving time and your vehicle expense. Well, generally, if you're in a smaller vehicle, a van or a car, you can probably figure in 60 cents per mile and be pretty close to a break even, or actually make a little bit of money if you can get recompensated at 60 cents per mile. So that'll be part of your thinking when you're coming up with your pricing. And when you're doing this type of business, you need 3 starting points. You need 3 starting points, because every customer that you go see, like with Rayford and Valerie, every customer is going to want to know, what's it going to cost me, and can we negotiate a little bit to get a better price? And the ways that you can not have to negotiate every time, I'm going to share those with you. But there's 3 starting points to make that happen. And this is in your handout, is a special handout that I was speaking to you about. So I'm not going to read everything on here. But I want you to know that what you want to have is a sample day target income. In other words, you want to come up with how much money per hour that you need to be bringing in to meet your business plan's needs. So you would figure out the number of hours that you're working, how many hours that how much you want to get compensated per hour. Here I plugged in $45 an hour as a goal. And if that was the case, and the average trip was driving 170 miles, that's 65 miles one way and 65 back, and I don't get compensated 60 cents per mile, then my subtotal for that day's work, expense-wise, was going to be $372. Well, that's income-wise. Now let's take out our COND, cost of doing business items. First of all, we had to spend some marketing money, right? So we had to spend 6.5% for that. My general overhead cost, I plugged in $11. I want to make 20% profit or margin. I want to make 20% margin on what I'm doing. So I added $74. And I know that I'm going to have to negotiate with folks, so I might as well build it right into the price tag. Another $19 there in the negotiating room. So each business day, for me to end up with my $372, this being my profit or in your pocket money, I'm going to need to bring in $872 to end up with $372. So just keep that in mind now, that $872. I'm going to be working 4 days a week, my business plan, times $872. That's saying per month, I'll bring in $13,952. Well, with those examples, on that criteria, you've got a way to get your business plan started. You're getting a lot of information in a hurry just by doing those projections. But now it's really important that maybe those numbers just don't fit you at all. And so what are you going to do if you do only 2 trips a day? Or what are you going to do if you do 7 trips a day? And this will change depending on what area that you're in. And you won't know this until you've been in business a few months. You just won't know, but it's important that you have this information so you'll make note of it, because after you've been in business a few months, you're going to have the flexibility of charging more, charging less, doing more work, or doing less work. Because look at this. For you to end up bringing in your $872 a day, and if you're just doing 2 trips, that means you need to average $449 per trip. But if you're doing 4 trips a day, it's $224 a trip. If you're doing 7 trips a day, it's $125 per trip. This brings it into really light that when someone says, okay, I don't do this work for folks, and I don't try not to have to charge them over $50, or I'm not, my total goal is $35 per trip. When you start pretending to be a taxi that's serving people everywhere on a meter, then that's going to end up putting you into big trouble in a hurry. But if you have your business plan and your goals, then by golly, maybe you better off to stay at home if you're not bringing in the money that you need and waiting to get another trip. Now that's easy to say and hard to do when you got bills to pay and groceries to buy. I know that. But still, at some point in time, you're going to need that menu based on how many trips you're averaging a week or a day, so that you can adjust those prices up to give you some negotiating room. And here's the good news. There will be a lot of people that'll be happy to pay you whatever that you're charging. So they'll understand that you're just wanting to be goods. Because here's the deal. If you're basing your goal at $872, and you can go back and change those numbers so that your goal is more realistic for you. If you're going to do $872 and you just want to charge $50 per trip, that's okay. But just know you're going to need to do 17 trips a day to make that happen. Now, what is 17 trips a day? That would be in the morning between 8 and 12 that you'd be doing 8 different trips. That would be 2 trips per hour, right? And you'd be doing 2 trips per hour in the afternoon. And maybe in a big city you could do that, but that's going to be hard to do in a small North Carolina town. So our business plans have to be adjusted to be realistic to the areas that we're actually working. That's the news I wanted to give. So this is not a one plan fits all deal. Every one of them's got to be different. So the 3 points that you need to do are set the income goals for every day and week. Set that income goal for yourself. Number 2 is create an advertised ticket price. And when you have that advertised ticket that you have based it on this plan and someone says, what's it going to cost me? Then there's a good chance that you've got room in there to negotiate. If they say, well, can't you do a little bit better? And then you would say, well, I'll do my best. What can you pay? And if you've offered to do it for them for $100, maybe they'll say 90 is just fine. And that's well above your margin, so you can say, sure, let's do business. But the best news is if you've got a good advertised ticket price that's presented in the right way, that's got a padded price point there, there's a really good chance that you won't have to negotiate at all. That's right, especially after you've been in business a while and you're dealing with established customers. And number 3 is somewhere we need to balance. We need a balance between point A and B so that you're paying your bills and you're paying your taxes and you're paying yourself, but mainly there's something left after you do that. That's what a business plan needs to do for you, is to make sure there's what's left after you pay your bills and your taxes and yourself. Otherwise, you're just working for grocery money. And if you're working for grocery money, that means you're not making enough extra money to buy a new van or to reinvest or to do something special or to build a savings plan. And if there's nothing left, I'll tell you that you'll have a hard time ever selling your business to someone else. If you've got money left after you pay yourself taxes and bills, then you've got a business that can sell and a business that can grow. All right? That was the whole point of this thing. So do your individual models just like we've talked about, and we're going to put them together. And when we put them together, here's what we're going to end up with. Individual models clicking together. Some of them were our profit center generator models, and some of them were our expense models on one side of the column and on the other side. And when we put them together, we end up with a business plan put together with small models. It can be as complicated as you want to make it, or as simple as you want to make it. Matter of fact, a business plan could be, I'm going to go over to Dublin, North Carolina, and buy a box of peanuts for $10 and bring them back and sell them for $20, and therefore my margin is going to be $10. Don't make it any harder than it is. So maybe your profit margins are peanuts, watermelons, cantaloupes, and something else. Just do the models for each one of them, and let's see what's left at the end of the day or at the end of the 6 months. You can do a business model within several hours, and anything that you want to consider, you give me, and you can't figure it out, you send me the product, generally about what you think it's going to cost, and I'll help you work on it, and we'll make some progress on that. By using these small models, it can't get too complicated on you. Make the adjustments that you need for your investments, figuring your sales revenues, be realistic with that. How many do you think you can sell? Like I talked to a fellow that was at our seminar yesterday about how to build a website, and he wants to sell honey. So I encouraged him as he's getting ready to do his website. The first question I want him to answer is, what kind of volume, how much honey is he going to have to sell per year? How many unit sales does he need? Because if we're not going to have but 100 items we're trying to sell, we don't need to build a website or a marketing campaign that's geared up to sell 15,000 if you can't get but 100, right? So first of all, you have to be realistic with what you've got. If you've got a never-ending supply of things to sell, then you can go for the big bucks. That's right. But if you've got competition needs or freight issues or different things, take all that into consideration, and then you won't hang yourself out to dry thinking you're going to set the world on fire with your sales and end up not doing so hot. My dad used to say to me, his name was Alvin Scarver, when I first got started going out selling to people, and I'd knock on doors and I was out there just on fire, man. I wanted to sell everybody that would buy anything. And I'd come back some days and tell him what all I'd done and the quotations I'd offered him and how excited I was about maybe selling something. And he'd wag his finger at me and he said, "Now, you got to be careful, Stevie. Be careful. You go out there and you set the world on fire. I'll tell you what, you don't be the first one to get your ass burned." That's exactly right. Excuse the French. But let me tell you, you don't want all the business. If you get all the business, let me tell you what you're going to get a part of there is you're going to get some bad business in there too. You get all the business, you're going to get all the bad business as well. So a lot of you know that if you've been in business a while, especially those folks that's been in business with automobiles and real estate, you want to target your customers that's going to give you the least chance of ending up with bad business and the best chance of ending up with good profitable business with people that's going to come back to see you. Now all this talk is ended up for us to get to this slide right here. So take your time, look at your handout, because each one of these lines here, notice that the top lines are in black ink. And black ink, I try to do this. In black ink, that represents income. So remember those profit centers we talked about? We got profit centers for number 1, number 2, the different types of profit centers. That's to encourage you to see when you're putting your business plan together, you need the different types of profit centers to bring money in. But you also need it there to notice you've got balance. Because that profit center number 1 that was built in to bring in daily traffic, it might have brought in a lot of traffic, but it's probably not going to bring you in much profit. No, because you had to reduce the prices down to encourage those customers to come to see you the first time. But these other profit centers need to start generating more and more margin and profit for you. So we'll have different blocks, different models for each thing that we're selling. So each one of those lines represents a different income model. Also, we're going to project those models, and if we've had to borrow money or invest money or loan money to our company, I want us to plug that in too, because that'll be revenue that's coming into the business, and that needs to be on a separate line. Now, this information is all about getting started with your business plan. And I'll show you that in a little bit. We're going to do the same thing now with each type of expense that you have. Each one of these models here, you got to this number over here by taking the projected income and took out the expenses. So these were margin numbers, remember? So you did an income model and expense model for each one of these lines to end up with this number here over on the right, what's left, the margin. But down here now, we're talking about money that's going out. This is money that's being paid out of all the margins that you've taken in. Your marketing plan, your cost of doing business, your telephone, your insurance, staffing and salaries and things like that. Other expense models that are unique to your business possibly. And we got to pay our debts. You know, we borrowed money up here to invest. We put money into black ink up here. Now we got to start paying those debts out each month. So we got to account for that. Well, holy moly, we got black ink. Now we got red ink to subtract. And look here. What's the business plan supposed to tell us? What's left. And there it is. And that what's left can be your business projected revenues, what's left of it. It can be your targeted goal income for yourself, depending on the type of business you're in. It might be the targeted income for your business, or it might be the income before taxes or even after taxes, depending on how you did your expense models over here. But this is a basic business plan and pretty easy to put together. The larger your business is, the more difficult, but still, if you use a small model, it's not going to be bad at all. So here's a graphic that one of our students, one of our academy members put together for us. And what it's doing is giving you an easy to operate graphic here, where you will take your expenses and just pencil in your estimates over here. Now you'll have your worksheets on a separate pieces of paper, but you can pencil in your estimates right here on what your expenses are going to be. And then you can pencil in your revenues over here. And you know what? What's left is going to show up. Just that simple. So think about doing that and how you will make that happen. So let's look at it a little bit closer. On the revenue side, every business will have some of these, and every business will not have some of these. But notice over here, these product sales right here is where we plug in those income models. Money that we have plugged in for stock and material, we'd put here. Money that we're going to do some revenues or some fundraisers, we have a place to plug that in. Maybe some service sales where we actually sell the service. It's on the revenue side. And there's those profit center models. We don't collect taxes, and we've got to keep up with that tax money, even though it's not ours. So we have to keep up with it on the income side, plus on the revenue side. Now, maybe your business isn't doing any of these, but maybe it is you're working for commissions. Yeah, maybe in real estate, you get paid commission. So you would have a different way of planning this, and the real estate sales would be maybe one of your profit centers, and your other things that you're doing, such as rental management or flipping houses, or maybe even maybe you have a subcontractor, handy person that you're contracting out. There's a lot of different ways that you can create revenues, even if you're doing commissions as well. Sometimes maybe you're in the business of loaning money. Maybe that's what you've got to do. Maybe you got deep pockets and old money, and you're just going to get in the banking business or the loaning business, and maybe your revenue is going to be interest that you earn. Over on the expense side, this is money going out. We don't break it down to every type of expenses related to your business. And if it's just little stuff that we can group together, that makes sense to do in your business plan. You just pencil in numbers that would do things for you like that. All the way down, different types of expenses that you would have to do. Notice that we took our taxes in on one side, and we're showing where we're paying them out on the other. Now, some people ask, what is this franchise all about? Well, I'm going to tell you that even you may not be paying maybe you don't have a McDonald's or a franchise type operation, and if you do, then every month or maybe even every week, you're going to have to send whoever that franchise holder is a piece of your profit, a piece of your income. Usually ranges between 7 and 10%, so you definitely got to plug that in. And then risk management. What do I mean by that? What kind of expense would that be? That would be insurances or training or safety programs that you put on. The best way is not to let risk put you out of business, is have some type of risk management plan in place. But the bottom line, at the end of the day, our business plan work is all about figuring out what's left for you. So you ready to start? Let's think about starting this thing. What do? Well, here's your first steps. Let's name your business. Let's think about getting a marketing plan started. If you don't have a website or someone to help you get your presentation on the internet, and you're not going to do it yourself, then let's find a webmaster to help you do it. I sent out today on 2 different separate emails a list of people that I could recommend, and I recommended some for large businesses and some for small businesses and some for folks that just wanted help getting started on social media. We have some of your associates, members of the academy here, that have been through school here. Now they're in that business. They're very reasonable in their prices, and I'll be glad to share those with you. That's the best way to get started. So what are we going to think about now? I have to, because I'd be cheating you if I didn't. I need to tell you that if you were in a college classroom, whether it be at Harvard University or over in Europe at one of those big schools, or at Duke, or at any community college in a business class, when they talk to you about business plan, out of the book, they're going to tell you that there's 7 basic essential steps for every sophisticated business plan. Several different steps. So we don't talk about those so that you'll know what they are. While I'm talking about them, I'm going to say that almost none of you will need to use all 7 steps. Here's what they are. We use pieces of them and make it work. Step number 1 is your executive summary. That's the first thing in a business plan, in a sophisticated business plan. And I've given you in the text here what it is out of the book. But what in reality, what our executive summary is an appetizer. It's kind of your mission statement, your vision statement. It's where you tell the reader of your business plan what your business is like and why you're going there. It's a preview. You know, on the TV, we're always seeing about a movie that's going to be playing or a series that's coming up on the TV in a few months. That's the advanced appetizer. Just a little enough information, excuse me, to help you get started. Let me get a drink of water here. So what would you have it on the first page of your business plan? Basically your name, your business name, general information. And while we're using a draft and being informal, I'd want you to write down what your income goal is. How much money is this business plan supposed to generate for you, or to have left? What's left? You need to come up with a number. I also don't have to challenge you to ask you how many hours per week that you plan to work on this particular business. I mean, actually 100% of your attention focused on it. This is important because maybe this is a part-time thing for you, or you're retired and you're just doing this for fun, or you're changing a hobby into a business, but you need to dedicate X number of hours per week so that we can divide those number of hours into that income. Let's say your income goal, you said, my income goal is $36,000. All right, that's reasonable for a small company. But when I asked you how much money you were going to be able to, how much time you were going to be able to give it, you said, well, I can give it 36 hours during that time. Well, that's fine too if that's what you got. Just be honest with yourself. But having that information lets me and you both know something really important. That is that while you're working on your business, you need to be generating $1,000 an hour. Yeah, you don't give it 36 hours and you want it to generate $36,000. See what I'm saying? So maybe you sell something that it costs $36,000 and you can do that in 1 hour. Well, that would be still going to be that you're still going to need to be generating that $36,000. So give that some thought, because we're going to have our business plan help you balance that. Indeed, maybe you don't have much time to do it, but you still got a big income goal. Maybe you want to bring in $500,000, but still it's going to be part-time for you. Well, are you going to say, Steve, that means I just have to give up? No. I don't tell you that. Then now we have to know that you're going to have to delegate the responsibility to bring in that number to, number one, people, two, a website, associates, commission salesmen, rental equipment. Some way or another, our business plan to work has to take into account how much what that income goal is. And here's what is not allowed. You can't just say, I want it to bring in all it can bring. Well, that's just fine. Then you don't need a business plan. No, you need to go to church and pray that your dreams come true. If you have a reasonable goal, then we can write, and you can write a business plan to help you get there and be realistic about it and not be so surprised when you don't make it or fall on your face or waste your money or someone else's. Part number 3 to a sophisticated plan is a description of your company. That's basically where you say, writing it down on paper, the nature of your business, just in general terms, 3 or 4 sentences, or as many as it takes to give a real simple overview of the nature of your business. You're going to be talking about what you're selling. If you're going to be selling merchandise or selling time for money, you just explain that and talk in general terms. I don't want you to give away any secrets here. Someone else could pick up this plan, or you may show it to someone and they go off and tell other people about it. And if you're giving away secrets that's going to help give away your business and someone might be stealing your idea, that's a bad thing. So remember, you always need to have a sense of security about this. The big question with each profit center, coming back to remind you, is, and the plan itself is designed to tell us what's left. That's what we're all about. So let's keep it simple. Remember, I wanted each revenue generator model just to be related to the cost of that particular thing and the income that it's going to be bringing in, so that with each one of those models, it's going to be telling us what's left. And what's left, if it's black ink, okay, let's roll on. But if it's red ink, don't throw the plan away. It's the NDCP, no demand, change the plan. So if it's red ink, we maybe need to come up with more profitable centers. Maybe we need to add some margins or increase our selling prices or reduce expenses, or maybe it's just recalculate everything, but don't quit. No, Most business plans, when they're first written and we do our first add up the numbers at the end of the day, you're going to have red ink. Yep, because you know what? The expenses are always more than we thought they would be. I can just tell you that right now. There's always that surprise. And we have to go back and add profit centers, add margins, and be ready to make the changes, because there's always going to be a surprise coming at us. So here's another sample of a business plan. Let's say that you're thinking about getting in the trucking business, and someone comes up to you and says, "Okay, I can give you $305,000 this coming year. If you'll go buy a truck and a trailer, I can guarantee you $305,000. And I actually tell you how many miles during the months I want you to run, and I'll show you what I'm paying you per mile to end up with that $300,000." And these numbers are pretty close to realistic, so okay. And you say, "All right, man, I don't go do it. I don't go buy that truck and get in business, because I can use $305,000. Wrong. No, the $305,000 is the black ink. But it's up to you to figure out what the red ink side of it is. What's it going to cost you to make that money? Good thing about the trucking business, you can pretty much know what those costs are, as long as you're not buying stuff that's going to fall apart with you, or you don't have a lot of wrecks. But at any rate, you can come up with how much you're going to have to pay your driver and your fuel costs, insurance, tires, maintenance, how much your payments are going to be, and other types of expenses. So with a little thought, you can take a really good offer here and boil it down and see if there's going to be anything left at the end of the day. That's what a business model is doing for you. Or that could be an overall simple business plan to get started if you wanted to. Don't make it more complicated than it is. So whatever you're thinking about doing, if what I'm showing you here doesn't apply to you, or you can't figure out how to make it apply, then drop me a note. Just get an appointment with Bart. We'll help you get started, get your business plan started. But the rest of the story is it needs to be your plan. We're not going to write a plan for you. We're going to give you the information that it takes to help you get started. One of the most difficult things that we all have to deal with is startup expenses. Whether you're starting a new business from scratch, or whether you've already got a business going on and you're starting a new portion of that business. Now, I was very fortunate through the years. My dad had started the equipment company, and when I wanted to add a new type of business, I had people, I had some income, I could redirect management folks, and I could actually have little startups pretty easy as we went along. One day you'll be able to do that too. One day you'll be able to do that too. The key is when you're first getting started, it's more difficult. So the startup investment is really important. Maybe you're having to work right out of your home because it's just not in the plan for you to go rent a building right now, but you can have a business and work out of your home and make it work. Do you know anybody that does that? Well, I know that several of you are doing it, and you're looking at somebody that does that too. Yeah, I used to have bricks and mortar dealerships, it cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars a month just to open the doors with the employees and the expenses. Now I operate right here at my home office and manage to keep it going on, even as old as I am. So I'm not planning on selling. This one of you want to make me a really great offer. But the key thing is, think about what your startup expenses are. Start listing them down. And probably, just like it was for this fellow getting a trucking company started, he's going to have to come up with $13,000 out of his pocket just to put the truck on the road, and that has nothing to do with buying the truck or the trailer. So whatever you're thinking about doing, list down the expenses that you know that you're probably going to have to pay. Send me or see Bart. Let's go over them and see if we know of any more that maybe we can help you adjust it to give you a more realistic figure of how to approach it. I don't want you to have the surprises. That's the key. Remember what we were after? It's this sheet of paper right here. Taking those models, plugging them in, because at the end of the day, this is going to be your business plan. Number 4, what's your market analysis? Well, if you're a really large business, that's important, but as a small business in a rural area, generally you can sum it up with these lines right here. Describe where you're going to be working, where you're going to be serving, who your best customer target groups are, list down and mention who your primary competitors are, just so that someone that's reading your business plan from the standpoint of investing or loaning you money on it, they'll notice you've done your homework. That's what this is about. And you will have done your homework if you fill out these lines. How are you going to implement your business? What's your marketing strategy? You'll sell mostly on the internet, door-to-door sales, remote and mobile presentations. You just list it down, talk about the hours that you're going to work. Generally, you'll fill in these lines right here. Talk about how many people's going to be working with you and what types of plans you're going to do it. Maybe you're going to be a concessionaire and sell kettle corn. Well, your planned promotions will be at fairs and street fairs and special events, and you'll work in certain towns. You'll just kind of generally talk about that without giving away any secrets. If you don't have a bricks and mortar store, then it gets a little bit more complicated. Now, here's what I don't want you to do, is to, in your business plan, tell somebody the property that you're planning on renting unless you've got it nailed down. Otherwise, someone may try to rent the property out from under you, and you always have to remember that. So your business locations are important. You would tell how many square feet that you're looking for, that you're thinking about having, and what you think your estimated lease payments are going to be. Let's talk about that just a minute, because I do have a special free handout I can send to you about do's and don'ts before you rent any property. If you hadn't ever rented property before or dealt with landlords, there's some important reading here to help you stay out of trouble. Because to get into that business that nobody has been in a few months, there's going to have to be some money spent and a lot of work done. If you're going to do a lot of work and spend a lot of money on the property, you ought to be getting a break on your rent or a discount on it, or maybe even the first 2 or 3 months free. But if the landlord's going to start pouring money into it on your behalf, you can expect you're not going to get any huge discounts, because that money's going to have to come from you. But the key factor that you want to know when you're looking at any piece of rental property or property you're going to buy is, how much is it going to cost me to get into that building and open my business, because that will become a part of your one-time startup cost. And that can be a really big number. Little footnote, I don't want you as an entrepreneur, new business, to buy any real estate in your company name. You don't need that debt, especially if you're going to be going into debt. You don't need that debt on that financial statement. It'll hurt you in the long run. It'll hurt you from borrowing money from anyone else. It is perfectly fine, though, for you to buy the property as an individual, and then you, the individual, rent that property to your company. That's a win-win situation. Having real estate debt and assets on your personal financial statement is generally a good thing, provided you bought it below fair market value. And it's also a good thing that your company is able to rent that at a reasonable rate, and that rent helps your personal income. So small, new companies don't need to be buying real estate. You need to be renting or leasing from someone, and if you don't buy it yourself, then that's just fine. Even if you're operating out of a home office at home, like I'm doing right here, I own individually this office building that I'm in, but my company rents it from me as an individual, and it's a good arrangement. And most folks that's been in business a while, that's the way they handle it. Your business plan would talk about the organization. Who are your investors? Who's going to be working with you? You tell about them. I suggest that you don't give away any key employees' names, but you just list people down as the job titles that you're going to have, and that will be a good place for you to start listing down how much per year that job's going to cost you, because you're going to need that information over in your business plan anyway. Financial projections are going to be important, and you're going to have the records when you go to the bank. If you're going to be loaning money, you don't have to prove that you can pay bills. You don't have to prove that you have paid taxes through the years, and you don't have to bring those records with you. So if you haven't been paying and filing taxes for the last 5 years, you might as well go ahead and start filing. Get all your taxes up, because no lender is going to lend you any money if you haven't filed your taxes or you got any tax liens. That's just a fact. So no, that's going to be something that you're going to need to clear up. The most important number we need to talk about is 51. And that is to say that as you're out starting your business and with your business planning, and you think that someone's going to go into business with you, it's important that you do your very level best to maintain ownership of 51% of the stock. Less than 51% means that you're not in control. And we can spend a lot of time, and we'll do that in week 5, talking about that. But right now, looking at investors and startup costs, remember, it's okay to take an investor in and give them a promissory note to pay them back. That does not mean you have to give away stock in your business. It's 2 different things. So try to stay away from giving or selling stock in your business, but all you really need to do is to sign a loan agreement. How much cash you're going to need to get started? How much cash you're going to need the first 2 weeks from your start date to your grand opening date? How much cash you're going to need the first 4 weeks after your grand opening? How much money have you already invested? How much money have you already loaned to your company? And now, how much more capital or cash do you need to find? These are going to be very important questions for you to get started with your business plan, and for me or for anyone else to help you determine how you're going to go about getting there. So starting today, let's think about something. I want you to get in business. You want to be a business person. You want to own your own business and move forward. What do you need in your pipe and smoke it, okay? First thing is we need a good dose of self-confidence. Yeah, you need to feel good about what you're doing, and you need to be self-assured, and that is you've got enough gumption about you and feel like you've got the personal knowledge, energy, street smarts to move forward. Well, these 2 things can really be helped out with those 30 drill skills that's on one of the handouts. If you go through those and then in 4 or 5 days you're able to put the sheet down and then name them all 30 of them, I'll guarantee you your self-confidence and your self-assurance will be out the roof, because you will know you know some good stuff and you own it. And when you do that, you're going to be able to show some leadership skills. Sure, I'm not talking about the Boy Scouts here or the American Legion or things like that, but leadership in business is different. Leadership in business means that you've got the foresight and the skills to say to the general public, to the people out there in the world on the internet, I know what I'm doing and here's proof of it. And you'll be able to show that you are a leader, that you're kind of in control. A lady today purchased from me a mowing machine to cut hay at her ranch in Montana. She did. And she sent me a $5,700 check today from her other ranch in Arizona. And I had never met this lady, but she spent time on our website and came to be self-assured enough that by looking at our testimonials and talking with me for an hour or more, by golly, let's try it, Steve. I think I'm going to send you this money, and I trust you. And you know the rest of it? I don't keep that equipment in storage for her until next April or May. So she's entrusted me with approximately $6,000 of her money, never seen me before, never purchased anything on the internet before. Now, let me tell you, that makes me have a lot of self-confidence and feels like I can be a leader in what I'm doing. You can enjoy that same thing, but you just got to put your toes in the water and go for it. Put together organizational skills. Maybe you're going to need to hire a bunch of employees, or maybe you just need to organize a website and a supply chain to give you something to sell. Or maybe you just need to learn how to organize your calendar to bring people in, that you start filling up your calendar with people that you're going to carry around on your tour, on your transportation business, or fill up your barbershop chairs, or start getting towing contracts that are coming in all the time. And you know what? When you have all this working together for you, you can be really enthusiastic about it. Next, think about this. Here it is on Thursday night with a snowstorm coming in. And 2 years ago, if you and I had planned to have this business meeting, and that's what we'll call it, it would have been canceled because of snow day, because of inclement weather, they called it. Webinars and businesses had to cancel all different kinds of things, and that hurt business. But in today's world and through the internet, we're still able to do business. Isn't that amazing? This program wasn't canceled because of inclement weather. It would have been if we were having it at Sampson Community College. And I'm able to serve people not only in Clinton, but also as far away as wherever some of you folks are at. And last week we had folks from California on board. Isn't that amazing? So you can be enthusiastic today if you have your business in some way that's presenting itself on the internet, because that knocks down a lot of barriers and levels the playing fields for you. No matter how small the community is that you're located, if you've got these things working for you: self-confidence, self-assurance, leadership, organization, and a lot of enthusiasm to move forward, either one baby step at a time or start taking some real leaps. I'm encouraging you to do that. So let's bring this home for a landing. Don't wait till things are just right. They're never going to be perfect, but I can tell you right now that they're as close to perfect as I have ever seen them. The internet is alive and well with new people coming on board to shop, to buy. Folks are shopping on the internet that have never done it before, and they're looking for folks they can trust and believe in. If we can achieve that, and let me tell you, next week and the week after, you will really enjoy our marketing presentation, and you'll learn some things you just didn't know about. But I really want you to start doing your homework. Do those 5 profit centers. Do your mission statement. Think seriously about how you're going to charge and what prices you're going to be charging. Do a couple of YouTube videos. And again, I want to thank Victoria for all the hard work she did. She jumped right in this thing. She's going to go for it. And in a couple of months, she'll have her website set up. And then, you know what? The real work starts. The real work about having your website and getting your business started is getting people to find you and come and do business with you. So believe and trust in yourself. Let's get through these obstacles and these challenges. I am encouraging you as strong as I can. I feel good about America. I feel good about the internet. I feel good about Eastern North Carolina. But I feel great about the Academy of Entrepreneurs and Associates working together and pulling together. So to you all, I want to say thank you. It's just been a pleasure to work with you, and I hope we can do a lot more of it. So I don't